All right. Hi, everyone. Hi, goalies everywhere. Thank you guys so much for joining. This is another Lift the Mask presentation and group discussion for November 2023. And I'm really excited this month to be joined by legendary Stop It Goaltending coach, John Carratu, someone that we've probably all known and interacted with over the many years that he's been involved with Stop It Goaltending. I've known John for probably 12 or 13 years now, and I've not met a more dedicated and passionate coach on and off the ice. So really excited to have John joining us. Every month we have a guest join us, a guest that's willing to share his or her story about their mental health journey and what that means for them in the realm of goaltending and hockey. So similar to what I do every month, I'm going to go through a quick little presentation on the Lift the Mask program, and then we'll introduce John and get him to share his story a little bit, and we'll just have a discussion with John about, like I said, his mental health journey. So again, appreciate you guys so much for tuning in, and here we go, off and running. So real quickly, my name is Justin Goldman. I'm the president and founder of the Goalie Guild and this Lift the Mask initiative. I sit on the advisory board for Sense Arena VR, and I was an emergency backup goalie for the Colorado Avalanche for 5 seasons. I retired when they won the Stanley Cup, and that was a wild experience. So now I just work from home here in Colorado, and I focus on research and development for goaltenders in a variety of different ways, along with running the foundation and Lift the Mask. So just to kind of give you a quick summary of how I got to this point and why I decided to start the Lift the Mask initiative. A big part of my goaltending journey has been writing the books that I've written over the course of the last decade. And some of you might be familiar with some of these titles. The Power Within trilogy, the 3 books on the right, are probably the most recognizable. This was a series of books that I wrote with one of my mentors and someone who's taught me a lot about mental health, Mike Valley, who was a former goalie coach for the Dallas Stars. And what we wanted to accomplish with these books, and especially the first one, was to help younger goalies or goalies of any age just understand what some of the mental obstacles and some of the challenges that elite goalies face on their journey to the top of the goaltending mountain. And it was really fascinating for us to sit down with this collection of goalies and just have an open discussion with them about, a lot of the different pressures that they have faced over the course of their career, and a lot of the different things that they've experienced, from when they were young goalies, like I said, all the way to the top of the mountain. And what was so amazing about the stories that they shared is that it revealed a lot of common threads that, you and I might experience as goaltenders when we're growing up and playing. So it was really empowering to hear that goalies that were playing at the elite level had gone through a lot of the same challenges that, goalies all over the world are going through on a daily basis. And that was really what was the impetus behind the book series, was to make their stories relatable and create this kind of understanding between, what goalies at the top are experiencing and what we experience on a day-to-day basis. So I like to show this slide because not only does it list a lot of the goalies that we've, interviewed over the years, but it also shows that there's a common thread, and that common thread is that what we're all trying to accomplish at the end of the day is just this flow state, this ability to, hit the ice every day with a clear mind and with inner faith and confidence in our abilities. And this is ultimately the goal of any athlete in any sport, is to be able to go out and be the best version of yourself every single day. But we know that there's a lot of challenges to accomplishing that. And a lot of those challenges can be mental. Obviously, they can be physical as well, and they can be emotional. So again, this is something that we're all trying to accomplish. And when we showed this little Venn diagram image to all of the goalies that we interviewed, to a T, every single one was on the same page. They all agreed that, trying to find that balance between mind, body, and spirit was the challenge, regardless of how well you're playing or what's going on in your life, or where you sit on a depth chart. This is the ultimate challenge, is finding the balance between mind, body, and spirit. So again, this revealed a lot of amazing common threads between, the goalies that we grow up idolizing and we watch on TV every single day, and goalies just like you and me, guys and girls that are trying to, be the best version of themselves and ultimately take the next step in their playing career. So again, just to kind of reiterate the common threads that a lot of elite goalies face and what we face on a daily basis, we asked all these NHL goalies some questions that revealed more things that were in common with all of them. And one of the things that we learned is that every single elite goalie has a collection of mental skills that are always evolving. All these elite goalies have a growth mindset, and they know that they're always evolving and that there are always things happening in their lives that are going to force them to change. And that's a challenge in and of itself. Another common thread that we found is that every single goalie at the elite level is doing some type of mind-body awareness or mental training away from the rink. So whether that's meditation or visualization, or it's, speaking to a sports psychologist, every single goalie is doing something, and finding that something that helps increase your mind-body awareness or improves your mental skills is extremely important. And the sooner that you can find that thing that calls to you and really helps you, achieve a higher level of balance, it's just going to make you a better goaltender. It's going to make any challenges and obstacles that you face a little bit easier to overcome. And then the last one, like I already mentioned, is what do all elite goalies say? They all say that balance is everything. Sometimes with younger goalies, they start to live and die by wins and losses. It can really mean a lot, and it can change a lot. And then the older you get and you start to build a family and you have other responsibilities outside of hockey, it's like that balance actually improves your ability to go out and play every day because you're not living and dying by wins and losses. So again, this was just another common thread that we discovered throughout the books that we wrote that really helped normalize the challenges and obstacles of being a goaltender from that emotional and mental standpoint. So at the end of the day, this is the challenge. This is what we're all trying to accomplish. We're trying to accomplish our real life goals and our goalie life, and we're just this little paper towel roll on the bottom trying to balance it all and hope it all makes sense. So this is a difficult challenge for goaltenders because we face a lot of inherent pressures as the last line of defense, and it's really important that we have a community and an environment where we can talk about the things that are causing us to not have that balance or might be weighing on us on a daily basis. So one last point I wanted to make is that, developing mental skills is not something that you go to school for or you read one book about and you have all the answers. These skills that these NHL goalies are developing are happening over the course of many years, and they naturally emerge out of the context of their daily lives and their playing environments. So as they experience the ups and downs that come with being a goaltender, solutions emerge out of those experiences. And a lot of those solutions come from having conversations and having that self-awareness and doing a lot of those mind-body awareness practices that I mentioned earlier, whether it's visualization or meditation or any of those other skills that are out there. So I love this quote from Henrik Lundqvist. We all know he's an absolute legend, and he was a battler and a warrior on the ice. And I think this quote from Lundqvist really sums up, the challenges that we face as goaltenders. He said, "It's the daily battle against your mind, body, surroundings, and emotions." So right there in that first sentence, he's already pointing to the balance and what we're trying to accomplish between mind, body, and spirit. He said, "It's a lifelong process of developing the skills needed to play and live at your best on a daily basis, no matter the cost. As it goes with life, whether in success or in failure, we learn this lesson. Goaltending is a battle that is never truly won or lost." So I love to share that quote because I think it really encompasses everything that we face as goaltenders, whether it's within ourselves with that inherent pressure, or it's externally with individuals that may have never worn the mask before, never been a goalie before, but they're still going to judge you on how many shots you saved or how many pucks you stopped. And while we know that's not necessarily fair, that is the reality of being a goaltender. And it can be tough. It can be really challenging. So Henrik Lundqvist experienced it over the course of his career. Every goalie goes through it. And this is part of the battle that we face as goaltenders. So this leads to a really interesting paradox that I know John has probably experienced over the course of his coaching career. I've witnessed it before. We've all witnessed it, right? They say that goaltending is 90% mental, but we only spend maybe 10% of our time on mental skills. They also say that goalies are the most important position on the ice, yet we might get 10% of the coaching compared to the forwards and defensemen and everything else that's going on the ice during a practice. So this is a paradox, right? Like we understand that we need to work on our mental skills and we need to incorporate a lot of these skill sets into our game, but just naturally in our environment, playing on a team, we don't have that luxury. We don't have that opportunity. And that's a big reason why, talking to someone and sharing stories and reading stories about what other NHL goalies have gone through is so important. And the same thing for, getting the coaching, like having a goalie coach that you can trust, that you can talk to about anything that's on your mind is so, so important. And that's why guys like John are so valuable to our goaltending community. The problem, besides this paradox, is the pressure that we face as goalies. And I don't think I have to really go into detail about why we feel that pressure or what that pressure means. We all experience it in different ways at different times in our career. And I think one of the issues that we face as goalies is that we kind of struggle to share our feelings or show our emotions because we're conditioned from a very young age to bottle that up and hide it from others. That's why the program is called Lift the Mask, because inherently we wear this mask to protect us, but that also makes it easy for us to kind of hide our emotions and hide how we're really feeling when we're on the ice. So, goalies are a bit alone on an island in the crease. We don't get the opportunity to skate to the bench and get a pat on the back from our coach when we have a bad shift or we let in a bad goal. We have to process that and we have to internalize it on our own. And that can be a struggle for a lot of goalies. So this is part of the paradox and part of the problem that I've noticed and I've experienced through my journey as a goaltender with all the goalies that I've worked with over the years. So the solution in my mind was to create a program that actually gave goalies more access to mental skills resources, obviously professional therapists and mental health advisors, mentors and providers. And I believe that by just taking an active approach to working on your mental skills, it actually does become easier to have a discussion or talk about your mental health. So if you want to work on your focus or your ability to concentrate, or you just want to develop the habit of self-visualization before a game, as you start to develop those skills, it actually gets a little bit easier to talk about how you're feeling and what emotions you're experiencing when you're on the ice or when things are going good or bad. So working on your mental skills at the same time can also help you develop a better understanding of how you're feeling and where you're at with your mental health, because both of those things work hand in hand and they're both extremely important. So that gets us to why Lift the Mask was created, how I got to this point, and why I feel it's so important for our goalie community to have a mental health program that's specifically designed for goaltenders. Real quickly, just a little bit about the mission of the program, besides the fact that we create the access and we make it easier for goalies, goalie coaches, or anyone in the goalie community to just reach out and connect with a professional, is that we're actually going to provide the funding for you to do so. So the last thing we ever want is for any goalie to hit a financial barrier or any kind of social barrier when getting help. And so if we can provide $100 for any family or goalie that reaches out looking for help, automatically they remove that financial barrier and they're going to be able to sit down and talk with someone right away without having to worry about the financial burden. So that's extremely important, because that's one of the biggest limiting factors to goalies getting help, is that they're afraid that they won't be able to afford it or they don't know where to turn and get started. So that's really at the core of what Lift the Mask is all about, and the main kind of mission for the program. We also, and obviously John is a part of this, we also have amazing ambassadors, goalies at all different levels and coaches that have gone through their own mental health journey and have recovered from it and just want to give back and want to support other goalies that are struggling with whatever it is they're dealing with. So we always have this amazing group of ambassadors that are always willing to talk to any goalie at any age, at any time, regardless of what they're going through. And that's a big part of the program as well. It can be great to talk to a licensed therapist or a sports psychologist, but still at the end of the day, I really believe that it takes one to know one. And I know personally for myself, I always feel better when I'm opening up about something that I'm struggling with to another goaltender or a goalie coach. So it's just something about the uniqueness of the position and the uniqueness of our experience that lends credence to the idea that if goalies can find another goalie to talk to or someone who has experience playing the position and going through all those challenges and obstacles, it's so much easier to lift that weight off your shoulders and open up to someone. Now, that's not always the case, but generally speaking, we found a lot of value with our ambassadors, whether they're coaches or goalies, just being able to talk to other goalies and know that there's already that bond and that connection and that heightened sense of empathy where, you know, there's a mutual understanding and a mutual experience there. So the ambassadors are a big part of our program as well. And at the end of the day, it's really about sharing stories. And, you know, obviously we have our Lift the Mask helmet stickers, which we send out for free. So anyone who ever wants a helmet sticker for their mask or to hand out to another goalie, we're mailing those out all the time. And we also do some advocacy through some mental health events, game nights, fundraisers, different tournaments that are honoring fallen victims that have suffered from mental health. All of these different things we try to get involved in, and we just make sure the goalie community is supported throughout the wider goaltending community. And then again, the providers and the mentors, these are individuals that either have licenses or have experience working with goaltenders and with other athletes. And all of that information is readily available on our website at liftthemask.com. And any of those providers or mentors, just like the ambassadors, are always accessible. And that's something that I really pride myself on, is that we found a group of individuals that want to help other goalies and that are always willing to have those tough discussions and just be there to listen and help give you the guidance and support that you need. So that is where we get to Mr. John Carratu. Again, someone that every time I've seen him and every time I've been on the ice with him or at a coaching symposium, lights up the room with his enthusiasm and his passion and his commitment to making goaltenders better. And while it's easy to see him in person as one of the happiest guys in the world, you know, obviously it's not always like that in real life. And there are ups and downs that coaches and goaltenders have. And I know just from talking with John, you know, this has been a long time coming, this discussion. We've been trying to get him on for about a year now, and the schedules just didn't work out. And he's been through a couple of very, very challenging surgeries. His first surgery was on March 8th, and then he had another surgery on July 19th. So he's been off the ice for a while. And so, yeah, I think it's really awesome that we have an opportunity for John to share his story. Again, this is what it's all about. He's being willing and open to talk about some of the challenges that he's been through. And by sharing his story, he's normalizing the fact that, you know, mental health is a challenge for goaltenders and goalie coaches. But there are lights at the end of the tunnel, and there are ways that you can change things for the better. And John is walking proof of that. And I'm going to turn it over to him and let him share his story. So, John, thank you so much for joining us. And again, thank you for being open and willing to talk with us today.
I'm glad to be here. Like you said, it's been about a year or two in the making to have this conversation. I'm really excited to have it. The idea, like, it's just on the ice, is being able to help goaltenders, being able to help athletes. That's why we coach. We do it. The reward is helping the athletes. I guess my story can start basic with, if you were to diagnose me, I guess you could say that I have a high social anxiety level. It's hard to describe, because when I'm in a comfortable setting, I'm fun, I'm happy, I'm always having a good time. That's why when you ever see me at a rink, I'm having the time of my life, because that's where I'm supposed to be. It's when I go to new settings, new places, experience new things, that all of a sudden the social anxiety pops up. And along with social anxiety comes some that goaltenders battle with, athletes battle with. It's your confidence level. Do I feel like I'm good enough to be here? Do I feel like I belong here? Is this a place I'm supposed to be? And all of a sudden you start playing those mind games with yourself, and then you realize you've been at a place for 15, 20 minutes. You haven't talked to anybody. You're still kind of in your own head right there. And it's just, it's not a fun place to be. So I would say social anxiety is the biggest thing I deal with.
Mm-hmm. What was it like for you? Like, how did you come to terms with that? How did you kind of self-diagnose, and when did you realize you kind of needed to reach out to someone for help?
It's funny. It's as you get older, you start going a little more. Like I said, you talked about a growth mindset. You look at things and you want to improve yourself, and you say, how can I get better? What can I do to get better? And you kind of do a self-analysis. And I realized that my social skills have always been lacking. Outside of a hockey rink, that is. I mean, when I'm in a hockey rink, I'm the happiest guy in the world because I'm hanging out with my people. I'm hanging out with goaltenders. I'm hanging out with coaches. It's a great environment to be in. It's my social skills outside of hockey. I found that it was lacking. I wasn't interacting as much as I should. I'd often decline invites to go out with friends or people because I just didn't, I didn't feel comfortable where we were going. If we were going out to dinner, at a place I didn't know, I would decline the invitation. If it was to go out with a group of people and maybe I didn't know two or three of the people in the group, I'd decline the invitation because I just didn't feel comfortable with that. And then I realized, that's really limiting me and holding me back. And I've got to do something about this.
Mhm. And what was the first step for you after you kind of realized this was something you needed to get help with?
Just doing it. Like if somebody invited me someplace, just go. Even if it was for like, even if I said it something like, "Hey, I'm just going to pop my head and maybe I'll be here 15 minutes, maybe I'll be here a half hour." Just something as simple as just taking an invite and going, "Yeah, I'll go somewhere tonight," or "I'll do something," and then doing things with a group. Most goaltenders are loners in a way, and I usually like to do things by myself. Be able to interact or be part of a group was something different for me. So it was just things like that I had to just kind of say, do this. It's going to be better for you in the long run.
Hmm. And do you want to talk a little bit about the surgeries that you went through? Like what kind of challenge was that for you? Because like you said, when you're at the rink, you're totally fine. You're at the height of, just feeling good and being who you are, right? Like we know you as this really passionate coach. So what was the challenge like for you when you were dealing with the surgeries?
Well, I had double hip replacement surgery done. I had one done, then 3 months later, I had the other one done. Again, the wear and tear of being a coach and being a goaltender or a coach for close to 50 years caught up to me. It was challenging. I remember coming off the ice March 6th with my last ice session I did at Stop It Goaltending, and I just remember saying, I'm not going to be able to touch the ice for at least 6 months, and saying to myself, well, geez, that's my happy place. I got to find stuff to fill in that void.
Hmm.
First thing I got to do is get the surgery done, get healthy physically, but it was a good battle to mentally prepare myself. One thing I did was that I never thought I'd do is I took a Reiki class before to help with the mental part of it and to help with my own healing part of it. And again, if you said that 3 years ago to me, like, oh yeah, take a Reiki class to help with your overall mind, body, spirit, I would have said no way. But I
Hmm.
did it. It was great for me. It prepared me more going in for the surgery mentally, and then as far as myself, care after was tremendous for me.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really cool that you mentioned the Reiki class because, again, I mentioned earlier how every goalie at some point realizes they have to do something for that mind body awareness. And for you, it was the Reiki class. And for me, over the years, it's been Pilates, right? Like that was just the thing that called to me that right away when I started doing it, I felt better, not just physically. It wasn't just about strengthening certain muscles, it was just that connection to the mind body and being able to kind of check in with myself and see how I was feeling emotionally or mentally. Um, what is what? Let's maybe shift gears a little bit. I'd love to ask you about your experience working with goalies. You've worked with so many goalies over the years, so many different levels and so many different parts of their career. Like what is one thing that you like to do to help goalies with the mental game? And it could be just about anything. Like how do you try to resonate with them or build a relationship with your goalies that makes it easier for them to, open up to you about things that they might be dealing with?
Couple things I like to focus on is one, I like to get to know them as people. I also want to make it clear that like their performance on the ice has nothing to do with how I feel about them as a person.
Mm.
And that's something that so often as an athlete, especially as a goaltender, you see that people value you as a person and they judge you as a person based on your performance. I guess a great example, it's not hockey related, but up in New England right now, the New England Patriots are struggling. Their quarterback's struggling. And I can't watch anymore. I can't listen to any more talk shows or anything because they're just assassinating his character as a person. It has nothing to do with who he is as a person, and that's how I approach my goaltenders. I want you to know that when you come off the ice, you're valued. I like you. That my opinion of you is not based upon your performance, and that's something I took from my father when he was coaching. He was a football coach growing up. I played with him, and he wanted every kid to feel that he had some value to the team, even if his skill set was limited. He wanted to feel the kid had some value to the team, and when the season was over, that he wanted to play football again. So that was my thought with hockey when I got into coaching was I want a kid, whoever I coach, to come out of it at the end of the season, end of a practice, end of a hockey camp, saying, "Geez, I had some fun. I learned something. You know what? I want to keep doing this."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cool. I think it's important. Like you said, one of the most important things is like not seeing goalies as athletes, but seeing them as human beings and having that personal connection with them makes a huge difference. Um, so have you been back on the ice recently? Like, how has that been for you just getting back? Like, has it been emotional? What has that process been like for you?
Very, very fortunate that my colleague, she's with Providence College right now, Katie Burt, got me a job coaching with the Boston College women's hockey team. So I've been there for about 3 weeks. I've touched the ice 2 or 3 times, not doing anything strenuous, just being there. But I'll tell you what, it's just been a joy being around, Grace, Bailey, Bella, the goaltenders at Boston College, just being back on the ice, being in the hockey environment. Also, my colleagues, I got to shout out to Brian DeCord. He's been with me every step of the way. He call me once a week or something, just see how I'm doing. And again, just to check in mentally to see how I'm doing. That was more what the phone calls were more about. Nothing. Oh, when are you going to get back on the ice? We need you back at work. It's just, hey, how you doing? How are things going for you? Just things like that. And that's the goalie community. That's the hockey community. Just making sure like you have access to what you need. That's why it's such a great community to be involved in hockey.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. The Stop It Goaltending community is one of the strongest in the country. And it's great to know that you had that support. Was there like a one really major struggle that you had during your time off the ice? Was there one thing that you can point to, or maybe that you'd like to share that was like, this was really tough for me? I mean, obviously not being on the ice is difficult, but was there something that you battled with mentally, maybe that you struggled with during this time?
I think any athlete or any coach, it's that, geez, will I be able to do this again? Will I be able to get back on the ice? What's it going to be like when I get back on the ice? I'm going to be limited with certain things, obviously, but will I still be able to communicate with the kids? Will I still be able to have a good time? Will I still be able to connect? I guess was the big thing with me. So that was probably one of my biggest struggles. Like, will I be able to get back and be able to coach? Because it's so much fun being on the ice with the kids of all ages, like from the mites all the way to the NHL players that we're fortunate enough to coach. It's just fun.
Yeah. Um, I'd also love to know, like, I love to pick coaches' brains about how they handle situations that aren't ideal. So, for example, like if you're working with a goalie and let's say it's a college goaltender, they play two rough games on Friday and Saturday night. What is your message to them? How would you approach, handling a goalie that's really struggling to stop pucks, or you could just tell their confidence isn't there?
First thing I try to do is crack a joke or do something, because the last thing you want to do is get into that downward spiral, and then most important thing I think too is let them know I'm there for support. It's so easy to play the mind games with yourself as an athlete in this sport, and I just want to know that they're supported. That like I said, we'll figure this out together, and it doesn't change my opinion of you as a person. If you have a bad game, you're going to have bad games. That's the nature of the position. I mean, you think about it. I mean, if we have a 90 saves percentage in hockey, they're talking about dropping us down in the minors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any other thing in life, if you're successful 90% of the time, you are the greatest person in that profession. So that's the thing about hockey is you're based upon your lack of failure, is what I like to say. So it's I just want the goalies to just be comfortable, be able to talk. If they have something that's bothering them, whatever it is, that way they can just kind of clear their mind and be able to perform the best they can.
Hmm. Yeah, really good point. That kind of reinforces what I was saying earlier about the challenges and the struggles that goalies face are not realistic, right? And so I think we are conditioned over the years to just bottle that up because not a lot of people understand those mental pressures because not a lot of people are playing the position, right? So it can be really difficult to find that level of understanding between what a goalie experiences. And yeah, the goalie coach is going to be on your side, but it's like everyone else in the room maybe doesn't understand like why those goals went in or why you're struggling or why it can take a little bit of time to get back to the top of your game and regain that confidence. So that's all really good, really positive messages that you're sending. I would love to know like what's the one biggest thing you've learned over your many years of coaching? Like what's one of the biggest things that you learned about just managing emotions in general, whether you're a coach or a goaltender, like the highs and lows of a college season, for example. Yeah, you've got so much to balance between school life and, like I said, hockey life, and you're just this paper towel on the bottom trying to keep it all together and keep it all balanced. Like, what's the biggest challenge that you found for yourself as a coach, and then maybe like let's talk about college goalies because I know that's what you're working with some college goalies now. So like, what's the biggest challenges there for yourself as a college goalie coach, and then on the goaltending side itself?
Finding the balance. You said it when, during our pre-talk. It's finding the balance. I mean, the first thing too you have to remember is they're called student athletes for a reason. They're students first. They're athletes second. I think sometimes we forget that. We watch. We just got through watching a big weekend of college football, all the rivalry weekends. Well, we forget that these are actually 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. They
Mm-hmm.
got to go to school. They got to get their daily schedule set up. So that's the first thing is just recognizing that they're students, and get the balance within. Another thing I advocate for, and I do it without the coaches realizing it. I want to get them a couple days off here and there during the season, just because there's again, with your book, Embracing the Grind. It's a grind from September to April. You're on the ice 4, 5, 6 days a week. Every now and then, a goalie needs a mental health day, just a day where he can come to the rink, just get his workout in, and maybe not go on the ice that day. So we can just kind of regain his thoughts, his composure, whatever it is. So that's one of the things I like to do is I like to hopefully balance the goalies out throughout a long season and let them know that it's okay if you have a bad practice. If you let in a bad goal, we'll correct that. It's not the end of the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really good point about I learned this a long time ago. Rest is a weapon. It's one of my favorite quotes, and it can be really hard, I think, sometimes for especially competitive goalies to actually ask for a break because they're so programmed to just always have their foot on the gas. And it's like anytime you show any form of like needing a rest or wanting a break, a lot of goalies may internalize that as like looking like they're weak, and they're not going to want to say anything when they might be dealing with a nagging injury or they're just out of gas and they're completely exhausted. So, how important is it maybe to create that safe space where a goalie can come up to you and say, look, I feel like garbage right now. I really need a day off because, as coaches, we feel like maybe we can read our goalies really well and know when those times are. But the reality is we just don't know what they're truly thinking. So, like, how do you create that kind of relationship where the goalies can come to you and be like, coach, I just need a day off?
Well, my first job there, I always thought when I coached college was just be an advocate for them, kind of filter through all the other stuff. If the head coach is upset about something or something's going on, be an advocate, kind of filter all that stuff out for them. That way, if they do have a question or a problem or something, we can address it.
Mm-hmm.
So I want them to feel comfortable being able to talk to me as just not only their coach, but you have to develop some kind of relationship. Some call it a friendship, some call it a whatever you call it, but you have to have something that goes beyond just coaching them the X's and O's and the techniques to really develop that bond that helps them grow and helps you grow as a coach too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's it for what I've got for questions. There's a couple of people in the chat room that are welcome to unmute and ask Coach John a question if they have one. But I thought this was awesome, man. And I know you've been through a lot with the surgeries, and it's just so great to know that you're back on the ice, back working with the team. You must feel very relieved. And it's great to finally have a chance to bring you on and have you talk, because I know you've been an advocate for Lift the Mask for a really long time. And it's great to just finally be able to show that you are here and you're part of our ambassador group and you're willing to talk to any goalie from anywhere for whatever it is they might be dealing with. So I really appreciate that.
I appreciate there's a program like this has been created. You'd be surprised how many goalies at rinks, at the goalie camps we do during the summer, just will come up to me for 5 minutes. Hey, coach, can I talk to you for 5 minutes? Yeah, sure. What do you want to talk about? And the stuff they'll open up with you about it too. They want to talk about the stuff they'll open up with you about because they feel safe, they feel comfortable, they know it's an environment that they'll be protected. That's important. I mean, sometimes we focus so much on the wins and losses that we forget about that we're here for the overall development of the athlete is as a person as well. I always want a kid to feel comfortable. I want him to have the same joy in playing hockey that I did growing up. Sometimes I think we're putting too much pressure on these kids too early. Sometimes these kids are playing 60, 70 games as 10, 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
To me, it's nuts. I mean, one of the unwritten rules we have at Stop It Goaltending is we want you to take at least 2 months away from hockey. Play another sport, do something, another activity, hang out with a different group of friends, increase your social circle and stuff like that. And that's all that goes into the mental development as a goaltender. And like I started off the conversation saying is, I didn't do that as a kid. I was just focused on sports, hockey, baseball, football. I didn't expand my social circle outside of sports. Then all of a sudden I hit a time in my life where I don't have the social skills I need outside of this. I have to develop them and learn them on my own.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty amazing that you were able to self-assess and find the solutions to the problems that you were dealing with just on your own. I think that's really empowering for goalies to hear, and coaches too. Like, I don't want to eliminate coaches from this discussion, because it's for us as well as the goalies themselves that we have to be able to balance things. And yeah, I think that's why it always comes back to that little Venn diagram in the book. It's all about balance. And like, I think as a younger goalie, it's hard to understand that because you just don't have the life experience. But then, like you said, you get older and you realize, oh crap, there's this area of my life that I don't feel how I should be feeling, or I don't feel like my best. What can I do to kind of change that? Or what can I do to improve it? And if you can do it yourself and you can self-assess, that's amazing. But if you can't, that's okay too. It's totally okay to not have the answers or to not be able to self-diagnose. And that's why there's a program like this in place. I'm not a licensed therapist. I would never claim to be one, but I am good at connecting people. And so if I can connect you to someone like Coach John, or I can connect you to a licensed therapist or any professional that has the licenses to give you, the help that you need, that's what this program is all about. But it's always amazing when we have coaches like John that have been through their own stuff and have found a way to push through it and are back, so to speak, and can kind of speak to the importance of the things we've been talking about, whether it's the balance or it's just the ability to self-assess or it's that mind-body awareness practice. Like, I would have laughed too if I said I was going to be doing Pilates, in my 30s and 40s, and John would have laughed if someone told him he was going to do a Reiki class. But these things are out there for a reason. They're out there for you to discover and explore and find what works for you. And there's so many amazing things out there that can change your life for the better and help bring more balance to your life as a goaltender. So, John, thank you so much again for your patience with this. I'm so glad that we finally had a chance to talk and you had a chance to just kind of share your story a little bit with all the goalies that'll be watching this on YouTube. And keep up the great work, man. I can't wait till our paths cross again in person, whenever that may be. And yeah, just really, really happy to have you representing Stop It Goaltending, for all the great work you've done with all the great goalies over the years, man.
I can't thank you enough for having me on. It was great to be able to talk about this. And as we stated earlier, if it helps any athletes or any goaltenders, it's definitely worth it. And as you said, there's resources out there. Reach out. People want to help you. People want to help you with mental health struggles. So again, I can't thank you enough for what you do for goaltending community. So thank you for having me on, and thank you for what you do.
Yeah, appreciate it. And again, like John said, we're here to help. So you can reach out to him. His email is john@stopitgoaltending.com. Did I get that right?
You did all one word.
Yep, John at stopitgoaltending.com. And I think I've got a slide with my contact info here. Yep, here's all the info you guys need to reach out to us. And again, if it's not myself or it's not John or it's not Chuck, who we had on last month, or any of the other providers on our website, don't worry, we will find someone in your area or someone that you want to connect with to have that discussion and to start your journey in mental health. So John, thank you so much. Great having you. And everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back next month in December with another Lift the Mask group discussion.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.